Hey everyone, it's Frederick Kramer here, and in today's video I'm going to tell you why it actually takes you so long to get rich quick. I know it's not about some shiny productivity technique, it's not about hiring the ace immediately, it's not about some shiny automation. It's something very simple, and I've seen that by myself when I used to do appointment booking for other people. Okay, for sure. I used to see it with other people on my way that did the same that I did, which one of these people became successful, which ones rather didn't or didn't yet, and also with my mentors that went to 7-8 figures. It's just your volume, right? To make this very simple. It's essentially how much work you do. But this is not like how many hours you put in, right? So if I say like, okay, if you get rich at a rate like 4 as a number, right? And you're working 4 hours a day, you're not just going to double the rate by working like 8 hours a day or something. That's not how it works. And you probably know this already, right? It's not about just doing more work, because working more hours probably does not necessarily lead to you making more progress in your business, which doesn't make that much sense, because how many hours you put in is actually, how much work you do. But I want to quickly elaborate on how a business is actually being built and how that is working and what actually matters. So bear with me, and then you'll know exactly what you need to do. So people get very distracted with working on their business and what they need to do and what they need to work on. And they usually work on things that are keeping them busy, but that don't actually like get them forward. For example, they change their profile picture, they work on their logo design, maybe they work on a particular part of their service delivery, they get caught up in client support or something like that. There are other things that move the needle a lot more. And first of all, a business is actually very simple, right? Because a business is just a combination of systems. To make it very simple, it's actually just appointment booking, sales, and service delivery. And this isn't just for agencies, this is also for coaches, consultants, and everything. I might as well say this video is for everyone, but niching and everything like that. So so every system is a set of conversion rate again, right? So if we zoom in and take a look at an appointment booking system, then this system is a set of conversion rates, and these conversion rates can get to KPIs, so key performance indicators, where you would say, okay, this system is working now, right? Or it's working sufficiently to make a very good profit margin. And for example, when you're booking appointments, a really good appointment booking rate or a decent appointment booking rate will be something like 3%, for example. People can get to 5%, 10% and everything, but at the point where you're at 3%, it doesn't make that much sense to go higher than that. And there are also some people who say, yeah, you can decently run a business at 1% appointment booking rate, which is true. But when you're already working on that system, you might as well just double that, because then your business is going to be double in long term. So I would say like 2 to 3%, but again, it depends on the platform, right? So you have this conversion rate, but this is just for the entire system, right? Because inside, let's say we pick cold email, which is something that I used to do. I used to get like 2 to 3 systems in KPI. So you don't just have the appointment booking rate, you have the positive reply rate before the appointment booking rate, and then you also have a rate that shows how many people give you attention. And sometimes there's also like a fourth conversion rate. Well, we don't want to make this like too complicated in this context. So you would want, for example, in the cold email system that I used to build, and by the way, one quick thing, if it takes you so long to get rich quick, the main reason could be that you just have shiny object system and start running like different businesses at once, or you switch your business frequently. This is exactly the reason with me, or the thing with me in the past, because I'm like technically in the business context since 2.5 years, but the business I'm running right now, I'm doing this for less than 3 months, because before that I was doing appointment booking and things like that, realizing that I actually hated that, and that it's very inefficient to just understand like new markets every single time you sign a new client and everything. And it was very hard to find like clients in the same market, if that makes sense. And then I started realizing maybe I should just do something that I'm actually good at delivering, and something where I can beat the competition, and only then did I start my business. So that's the main thing, just don't have shiny object syndrome. Back to the appointment thing. So when you want to, in that example, get to like 3% appointment booking rate, then you should probably have at least 5% positive reply rate, which are not people who book a call, but people who just reply to your email, not saying that they're not interested, not saying fuck off, not being like hostile or something like that. Well, people could also be hostile but still interested, but you get the point. So if you have 5% there, or maybe like rather 6-7%, then from there it's quite easy to get to 3% appointment booking rate, so the actual main conversion rate. But then, for example, when you send cold emails, you could have another conversion rate, which could be like Loom view rate, right? If you send people Looms. I don't know if that is still working. When I used to do that for my client, at some point it went off like very, very badly because of email deliverability, because I think Looms or something like these links are flagged more. And then of course it's way harder to run the system. And I had some other problems as well. So it was a huge headache. But anyway, a KPI for that could be 15%, right? If you have 15% of the emails that you send out where the people actually watch the video that you sent them, and like a third of them is actually replying to you saying, yeah, I'm interested, then it's quite easy to get 3% booking in with you in booking calls, right? And of course, after that, you'll get the show rate, then you'll get the sales conversion rate and everything like that. So it gets a lot more complicated, but I don't want to waste your time here. I just want to make it very simple. Like, you have conversion rates as well in like service delivery, how many people want a refund from you, how many people, I don't know, like fulfill your, or with how many people can you fulfill the actual like specific outcome time frame risk reversal offer that you have, things like that. It depends highly, of course, on what you're actually doing for people or what your offer is, but you have these conversion rates everywhere and you want to increase them. And that is basically first of all, you want to increase all the conversion rates, and then you want to drastically scale that up, which is just like doing more reps of what is currently working. And of course, the process that I just explained here is the most effective way to get to like 8 figures, 7 figures. It's maybe not the most effective way to get to 10K a month, right? Because for 10K a month, you don't need that. You can get to 10K a month with 1% appointment booking rate. If you send 100 outreaches a day, except for like weekends, then you have like 5 calls a week. And if you have like 20% sales conversion rate, then you have one new client a week. And if you have either like a retainer of 1K a month, then it takes you like some months and you're at 10K per month. Or if you have like a $2,000 to $3,000 product, then you're also basically at 10K a month, right? So it's not actually that hard to do, but yeah, of course we want probably to get further than that, right? So you have these conversion rates, and then the thing is you need to have a highest leverage activity, which I will refer to as HLA in the remainder of this video, okay? So when you have, let's say you want to build an appointment booking system, then the highest leverage activity is to increase the little conversion rates, right? But how do you do that? You do that by trying out different sort of versions of your email copy. First of all, you maybe try different versions of leads that you're messaging. You might try different like types of emails to see, okay, what actually like works with of course, email is just an example, right? This also works on like DMs and everything, and cold calling even. So that the email filter doesn't, like put you into spam or something. You want to do like figure out these things, and in order to do that, you need to, of course, like first of all track the actual conversion rate, so what is actually going on there, and find out how you can track that. I don't want to get too much into that because again, I don't want to waste your time here. I want to make this really effective. So you do that, and of course you need to have a sufficient volume to see if the test is actually accurate, right? So for example, if you have like a dice and you roll the dice like 5 times, it could be the case that you just roll like a 4, for example, every single time, and you'll say, okay, this dice only gets like a 4, right? Which doesn't make sense, because rather you probably have to roll it like 1,000 times or something, and then you'll actually like about, like the accurate sort of conversion rates, like what numbers are, the dice is having, which is probably going to be like equally distributed from 1 to 6, right? But the same thing applies when you have a certain, for example, email copy, and you want to test that. Then of course you cannot just send 5 emails. You rather want to send like so many that at least 60 people see what you have to offer. But when you can't track that, just send like 300 emails or something, right? And then you have a test that is showing like that's actually showing like the reality of how well that email copy works, right? So every single time you run a test, you need to have some volume in there, and you just need to try out different things. And that also makes it a lot less needy to send out outreaches, because it's just about, I want to see like how to get the system in KPI. It's not about booking a call right now. It would actually be quite of a distraction, because if you want to build an appointment booking system, but then you have to start taking calls, it's actually taking away from your volume, even though you're booking calls, right? Because it's sort of like multitasking. But of course you want to take these calls if you put in like the work to book them. but I think that, you get the point here. So if you have these high leverage activities, then the faster you're going to get the system into KPI is the more tests you run to get the conversion rates right. And if you run more tests, of course, you just need to put in more volume, right? That was the whole point of what I just explained. You need more outreaches. So you just need to do more outreaches. You need to do more sales calls if the sales calls are your HLA. Or you just need to work more on your product, which is a bit harder to define because there's not a specific unit of working on your product. For example, if you do cold email, then it might not be like client cold emails. If you do something else, I don't know, like I would say like putting in hours for delivering, but again, it's the same thing, hours can be very ineffectively used, and like 1 hour can be extremely effective. And that's sort of the thing. That's, by the way, also why it's extremely stupid that people who look older or something are like seen as more experienced just because they spend more time breathing on this planet, right? It's I'm of course, like what I just told is like putting me in a better place and everything because I don't look that old compared to like Iman Ghazi or something, but that's like a whole other thing for itself. Don't get focused on hours because hours is just shit to track for that. And when you know what your HLA is, so when you know, okay, in my case, it's building an appointment booking system because I'm not in KPI yet, then you need to know, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to spam outreach. Of course, not actually spamming, you get the point, I'll get you like the caveat later as well. You want to get as many outreaches out there as possible because let's say if you run, what the fuck? Let's say you run like 50 outreaches a day and you want to test that, then you need a bit more than 1 week. So you like if you start on Monday, then you have Monday until Friday, 5 days, and then the next Monday, and then you finish with sending 300 outreaches. And then of course you need to work like wait for latency to actually see what the test result is. But in the meantime, you might as well try a different version before that to see if that is happening, or you can use like the time in the meantime to learn on something, to watch some courses or something. It's quite tricky what to do there because you always need to wait for some latency, so for some time to elapse to see what actually happens. Because like, for example, right now, a test that I've done in July or sometimes even in June is still getting better results because people just sometimes reply after like 6 weeks or something. So you need to be very careful there and not like judge the test immediately after you send the last message, right? But if you have, let me quickly find out what I was trying. Oh yeah, so if you now send like 100 messages a day, for example, you don't need like Monday to Monday, you need Monday to Wednesday, and then you finish with the test, right? And then you can do something else. And not only that, but of course you're also just going to book double the calls if you send double the volume, right? So now we want to go about a sort of actual like to do this, and I want to explain how every single step works so that you can actually do something here and make sure that you get rich quicker, if that makes sense. So first of all, you want to find your HLA, so your highest leverage activity. If your appointment booking system is not in KPI, then it's going to be how many outreaches you send or how much content you produce, but content is a lot. In this example, it's about like outbound because inbound takes way longer to build, apparently. This video is probably going to get like 30 views or something, right? Then after you have if your outbound system is in KPI, then it's going to be your sales conversion rate or your sales system, which obviously includes how, your show up rate and how many people you actually present your offer on the calls, things like that. And after that, it's going like if both of these are on KPI, then it's going to be your value delivery system. And one caveat here is, of course, if you have clients, you need to make sure that you're delivering for them, but still your actual main priority is working on a different system, right? So of course, as soon as you have clients, you need to work on them, and as soon as you book calls, you still need to take them. And that's where like the actual like complexity in a business comes together, because you sort of have to like do many things at once. I don't know how like the word, I think you say juggling or something in English. So you just have like multiple things at once. A mentor of mine used to say running a business is like juggling like 3, 4, 5 different motor saws at once. And if one of them falls down, you're dead, or they break your hand or something, and you need to be extremely like careful, But mainly you want to focus on that, and of course you take all the calls and you work for the clients, but you want to keep that on like a sort of like 80-20 level, right? So for example, in my case, as appointment booking is my priority, and I recently decided that I'm not doing any fancy thumbnails anymore because I don't have the time for that, right? Or I could have the time, but I want to have that time rather for working on my product either, because I expect more clients and I have like a couple of clients right now. Or on sending outreaches and finding leads, Yeah. So if you know what your HLI is, then you need to first of all start tracking that, right? So you need to have a sheet that shows, okay, in that and that time frame, how many outreaches did you do, so that you can just count and see what's actually there, because what's tracked is automatically being improved. If you suddenly started tracking your calories, then you'll subconsciously or sometimes even consciously optimize towards a goal of calories that makes more sense for you to improve, your body. Depends on, if you want to lose or gain weight, but you get the point. And then when you started tracking that, then you need to find out how to increase the volume. And here's an important thing. Depending on where your niche is, the most effective system is going to be different, right? So I used to be able to only send like 50, 60, 70 emails a day when I used to like send cold email. The system where I had like 3.3% appointment booking rate, I could only send like 70 or something of these emails because it took me ages to find the people on YouTube. And when you find people, maybe because I used to work with YouTubers, right? And then when you have them on YouTube, you still need to make sure that, like, do they have an email? Are they actually my niche, or do they just look like that? Then when you have the email, is this email actually verified, or is this like a catch-all email address or invalid email address that then I can't use this lead? I need to find the next one. And some more factors as well. Like sometimes you need to fill out like a fucking captcha to make sure that you get their email from YouTube. Or on YouTube they just have their support email, but you obviously don't want to message hello support, you want to message the actual person. Oh, they don't have this, okay, bam, next one with the next lead, It took very long, and I honestly don't know a case where it's very easy to find a lot of emails without being like, yeah, today I'm going to show you on instantly how to find so and so many emails, and then you just like you give them like a fucking like random list like scraped from Google, where half the emails are like support ad or admin ad, hello ad, all this shit, help ad even, and the like half of these emails are invalid as well. Like, I don't know like a scenario where it's actually very easy to find emails, if I'm honest. So that's one case, right? Then another thing is DMs, and I honestly think there's a little amount of cases where DMs do not make much sense, because it's way easier to find a social media profile, because when you find the person, you immediately have their contact, right? With like finding emails is different. And of course, there are different social media platforms, and some niches aren't on Instagram, Twitter, School. You can even do that on School, right? Or I honestly don't come up, Facebook Messenger, whatever social media platforms like TikTok maybe exist out there, like Reddit or something. So like some niches don't exist there, right? But I think DMs, like, it's a lot easier to find people. Like literally, like you can find like 3 times as many leads in the same amount of time when you compare that with each other. So obviously you can send a lot more outreach with that. And also, if like each outreach, if you're like a sort of person that's like, yeah, I need to be personal, I need to interact with their content before, I need to send them like so and so many likes, and then I need to send a personalized like opener message, even though I'm not even knowing like whether they're going to watch the message or something, right? If like some people are like that, and then like I'm like, okay, but how am I going to increase the volume, right? Like it doesn't make sense to be like so like granular with like each and every person. Of course you have high appointment booking rates, but that doesn't help you when you can only send like fucking like 20 outreaches a day or something when you work like full time on that, right? And when you work full time on DMs, it's definitely possible to send like 200 like DMs a day. And some people are probably going beyond that, but like I said, the more DMs you send, the more effective it's going to be, because these systems scale linearly, right? If I suddenly like double the amount of videos that I'm doing here, my channel probably wouldn't like roll twice as fast, right? Or if you suddenly like double the ad spend that you have, at some point it's not going to double the results, but with outbound it usually does. Except for the case where you're messaging like the same person like twice because they have like a main account and other accounts and everything, but you get the point. And then there's of course like also cold calling. So if you find it like most effective to just like find the phone numbers of your clients, or for example when you work in a like home service or something as a niche, then of course like finding their phone numbers is easier. But then also you need to find the name of the person, because just talking to the owner, it is possible, but with the name it's better. You just need to find out like how to make that effective, but still run these tests that get to like a higher rate. And then when you know that, you just need to actually do more of that, right? So you just need to do like more reps essentially. For example, if you send like 200 outreaches a day, you can do like 3 tests, something like that, a week, right? And you can get to like your actual conclusion way quicker. The only problem there is, again, that you need to wait for latency, because you need to make sure that, you always need to wait a couple of weeks to see like whether your test actually was good or not. And then, of course, there is a caveat to that. And so, for example, or the main caveat I can come up with here is law of diminishing returns. You probably know that if you have like 10 donuts, and of course you shouldn't eat them because there's fucking sugar in there, but if you have 10 donuts and you eat like 1 or 2 of them, they're pretty, they taste well. But if you eat like 10 of them, the last one is probably going to make you want to vomit or something, right? So that's sort of like law of diminishing returns. And that can also happen with your volume, of course, especially when you're, for example, doing sales calls. When you do more than 8 sales calls, so with like sales reps, that's like an important thing. If you have like more than 8 like sales calls per rep per day, then the later calls are not going to be that good, and they don't have that much energy, and they're just not that good. But so if you keep it at like 8 calls a day, for example, that's good. So if sales calls is your HLA, then make sure that you can only have that one. But yeah, by the way, sales calls, of course, you just increase the amount of sales calls by how many outreaches you send, because when you send more outreaches, you can take more calls. And of course, like in the first place, you like before you went to sales calls, of course, you optimize the conversion rates of your outbound system to get more sales calls, right? That was the whole point of everything. And yeah, law of diminishing returns, not only with sales calls, but also when you send emails, or like DMs outreach, because not because like people think your outreach is trash just because you send more. The reason is rather like platform deliverability and things like that, right? Platform deliverability should be the main thing bottlenecking your volume, right? Or the only excuse you should have, right? So on Instagram, for example, you cannot just like get an account, or even like get an old account that is already existing for a couple of years. You cannot start sending like, or you should never send like 70 new like DMs a day on one account, right? So you need to have multiple accounts, then you need to warm them up, then you need to make sure that you're not like going like above these limits, then you need to make sure that you're still active on your profile so that Instagram doesn't recognize that. Same thing on email, you need to make sure that your email copy doesn't include like certain words. You need to make sure you don't have any images, no like other HTML in your email copy. You need to make sure that you don't have like spam words, and that your subject line is being decent, and that you only message verified emails. It's very complicated with that deliverability sort of thing, but that is extremely important. So that's the only caveat that you should have for your volume. And that's, by the way, the reason why I currently don't send like 200 outreaches a day or something, because I still need to sort of like test the waters, how many I can actually send before Instagram is sort of like telling me, oh no, shut the fuck up, like go away, right? And it's also like, sometimes it's also about the like time of the day where you send the outreaches, extremely important. And of course on email you can sort of automate that, but on Instagram that's also a problem. Or of course on Instagram, right, if your niche is around more on other platforms, on like LinkedIn or something there as well. But LinkedIn is also very tricky with deliverability, right? So that's the only thing. And then as soon as you have these, as soon as you're working on the systems and you start getting like money in, chances are when you're watching this, you probably already have like some money in. Then you want to remove yourself from everything that's not the HLA more and more, right? So of course, at the beginning, when you want to build an appointment booking system, you probably don't have like people to hire for like other parts of your, or at least it's very rare, of your business. But for example, when you're starting to take sales calls and you already sort of know how the delivery works, it's not like completely perfect and everything, but it gets results sufficiently. And then let's say you're making like 10K a month or something, suddenly you can actually, or like 20K a month, you can suddenly afford like paying for an appointment setter that can send, let's say, like half of your outreaches. And then you can spend more time, like first of all, you can take more calls, but you can also spend more of your energy on these calls, and you're not distracted that much by other things, right? And maybe you hire like a second appointment setter, of course. And here's the thing as well, when you build a system that is working well, you just need to hand them like the system exactly how to do that. You have done that by yourself for a very long time, so you can just tell them how to run that and make sure that they're not doing like stupid stuff, but that takes like way less time than like sending the outreaches yourself, at least when you hire like nearly like competent people. So if you have done that, then you can just essentially just hire more people. So yeah, very simple. So what do? What can you take from this video? Find your HLA. Is it outreach? Is it how many sales calls are you doing? Is it like working on your product? Is it maybe something else? Maybe your offer is really trash and you need to work on that, right? And then start tracking how much you do there. Of course, with outreaches and sales calls, it's very easy. But with like service delivery, of course, it's harder. Just find a way to track that, and then find a way to increase the volume, which is essentially just doing more, right? But increasing like outreach volume, for example, works by decreasing the amount you need per outreach, and suddenly you can increase the volume without like increasing the amount of time. And what actually matters is your volume and not the time you take, right? Same thing with sales calls, same thing with other things. And then you just need to do more reps, right? It's very, very simple, but usually quite painful to send more of that. But that's really what gets you forward, even though it's very boring. And even though lots of people tell you to fuck off on sales calls or on like outreach or something. But this is what actually gets people forward, right? It's not some like fancy framework or something. You just need to work on that, right? That's what really gets you forward. Of course, there are lots of frameworks that still make you fast, but if you're not doing this, then everything else is not really going to help you, right? Then you need to make sure that you're still like working properly with like platform deliverability or something, or like you're like law of diminishing returns with your own biology, that you can't do like more than 8 calls. And then over time you want to remove yourself from high leverage activities. If you have any more questions, by the way, just ask in the comments, and then I can like see if I maybe missed something in the explanation there. By the way, if you want to scale an agency, but at the end of each day you feel like you could have done 10 times more, there's a link in the description where you can check out how we can help you beyond these videos. Doesn't matter to me really if you click that or not. What matters to me is that your time is being saved, so I just wanted to leave that door open. And if you want YouTube to recommend you more of these videos, then feel free to like, subscribe, and comment. Like I just said, you know, if you have any questions or something, then I really appreciate you watching this to the end. This should really help you grow your business if you just do it, right? If you just do more of the hard stuff, then you're going to outcompete everyone that's not, you know, doing the stuff that's not that. Have a great day. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.